We have this amazing show here on the network, Pod TV, that is all about advocacy and all along those lines. I know that sometimes Irene doesn't like when I use that term, but I consider her one of the great advocates, and she's also sharing her birthday with that mom of mine who I actually talked to not that long ago, and all along those lines. As a matter of fact, she just got a new dog, mom did, and all along that kind of space. So she's spending time with Walter, her new Shih Tzu, and all in that space. But I'm going to bring Irene in, and she's going to talk about what she does, which is being the co-founder of TARDA, Timeshare and Resort Developer Accountability. And we definitely need accountability. And like I said, she's definitely an advocate for those that have been not doing that well with timeshare. So she's doing a great job in the advocacy space. And I consider myself an advocate as well. So I'm going to turn it over to you and everything along those lines. But I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Mom got a Shih Tzu back on Thursday, and she's enjoying her new dog. The dog is down there on her lap on a regular basis. She sent me a picture of the dog, and the dog is just having way too much fun in its new home and all along those lines. So the dog is a young gentleman dog, and it's definitely having a great time and all along those lines. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll wrap it up and hear what y'all got going on in the timeshare space. But I know that you love animals as well, so I just thought I'd share that with you.
Thank you so much, Mark, and I hope someday to be able to meet your mom. I want to start with our someone that's been helping me host this show, Jonathan Stoker from Vacation Ownership Advisor, and especially Mark, because I got a little goofed up starting the show this morning, Hawaii time. It's 7 a.m. in Hawaii, and we are at my husband and I are at Maui Hill Timeshare. I think one of the best timeshares on the island, and it's been in our family since 1984. We have also on the show today Robin McPherson, and Robin is she bought from Westgate. She has been to many timeshare presentations, but Westgate really appealed to her because of the investment potential and the rental opportunity that didn't quite work out. And so she was forced to default. We're so happy to have people that are willing to share their story. That's the reason we could have done a rerun today, but this show has been so helpful for so many people. And we also have on the show today Betty. Betty, we're so glad you made it today. Betty is a happy timeshare ending. She was able to resolve her dispute, but not too long ago, she was in the same boat as Robin. And when someone resolves their dispute, we're not even going to say what developer it was. She's just going to talk about the importance of the process and having support from others. Almost finally, we have Tracy, who also purchased from Westgate and has gone from despair to empowerment. And she's going to be sharing our story today. And last but not least, we have Judy. And we have so many people on this show that have been disappointed in their timeshare. And despair is not too strong a word. We've had several active duty service members on the show that have found their security clearances in jeopardy because of a timeshare default. But Judy and I are seeing the good side of timeshare. And I also invited Maui Hill. We purchased Maui Hill in 1984. They have had the same general manager, Dennis Costa, who hosts our weekly Mai Tai party, where I sat next to Judy and said, hey, would you like to be on our show and talk about your timeshare experience with us? So thank you so much for being on here. And I also invited the resale agent who's been here since 1982. But he's over 80 years old now. He relies on a walker, and I think he has a hearing problem, so he wasn't really comfortable being on stage. But he did give me an update, and I got to talk to his sister-in-law, who was my sales agent in 1984, and we stayed in touch for many, many years when timeshare was not as buyer beware as it is today. But Tom Von Rosen is the resale person here, and he mentioned that there have been 4,900 weeks here, and currently there are 200 weeks for sale, which is a lot.
Yeah.
So we have, there's 64 units that are whole use, and only 3 of those live here year round. And he said in 1982, Maui Hill would rent for $59 a night. And fast forward to 2025, and they can get in peak season up to $400. Our maintenance fees are $1,400 a year. No, $1,200 a year. And when I went to book, it
Low.
was $203 a night, but then that doesn't include taxes, which Hawaii's got plenty of taxes. So Judy, tell us how long you and your partner have been involved with Maui Hill and how it's worked out for everyone's family.
My friend bought over here one timeshare unit back in about 1985, maybe. And he liked it so much they added another week so they could come for 2 weeks. But then they ended up buying outright a 3-bedroom unit and owned that so they could come whenever they wanted. And they rented it out through the rental program that was available at Maui Hill. And he had that for about 30 years. And in the meantime, well, 30 years later, his wife passed away and circumstances changed and the kids were older. And so he sold the house, but he's kept the units, and he's actually bought another week at next door so we can bring family and friends that I've brought along for him. So yeah, he's had a great time, and he's been coming all that time, over 40 years.
Now, when he rents, was he able to cover his maintenance fees? Do you know?
Yes, yes. And still, sometimes we have, with the extra week, we'll rent it to somebody that we know, or and he covers his expenses. So he's been lucky. And yes, he's known Dennis, of course, and Tom that you're talking about. All the people have been here, and that's a great thing, continuity, that he's knows the people, they know him, and they do take care of you over here.
Yeah, I actually had a client that was quite wealthy, and I was helping them with some insurance planning because of a settlement, and they said that attorney was one of the top attorneys in Hawaii when I was a stockbroker here, and said that Maui Hill they thought was one of the best timeshares in Hawaii. So unfortunately, Robin and Tracy didn't have much luck renting, and I call Maui Hill and they call them legacy resorts, which is another word for old and independent.
Yes.
And I always say I call it your grandmother's timeshare, and your grandmother's timeshare wasn't so bad, because 2 years ago we couldn't use it. I think my daughter had some aging dogs or something, and we were able to rent it out through Koala, one of the companies we support that's a rental platform. But Hilton Grand Vacations acquired Blue Green and Diamond Resorts. Diamond, in their guidelines, say you cannot rent to anyone you don't know, and you cannot rent using a third-party platform like Red Week or Koala. Blue Green has been suspending hundreds and hundreds of accounts for renting. And when we were able to rent that we were able to get $100 or so, 200 more than our maintenance fees. And I just thought, that's the way it should be. It's just not right that you can't rent this out. Now, Betty, we have Betty on here on the show today because she was able to resolve her dispute. And I've maintained a wall of shame since 2016, and our volunteers have provided the names of multiple complaints against the same sales agent. So if you read 5 complaints dating back to 2016, and they all sound alike, and they don't know each other, and they're all educated professionals. You have to be really out there to not understand that there's a problem. So when Betty submitted her report to her developer, and you go back and forth, and I said, or you may hear, well, we've never had any problems with that person before. And I'm like, here, show them this. And they've been honest enough. So Betty, if you could just take a little bit of time and, one thing I forgot to, in addition to Mark, our producer, we want to wish our co-host Kimberly, who's recovering from surgery at home, and I'm sure she's watching backstage here, that I always said I couldn't do the show without her, but thanks to Jonathan and the other people on the show today, we're able to continue the shows going on. So Betty, I'd like for you just to talk about where your head was at before you found TARDA. You reached out to TARDA through Contact Us, and the process that you followed that led to your resolving your dispute. And I believe, are you still a member of your resort, or did you just buy one time?
No, I bought initially in July of 2024 in Hawaii. And the maintenance fees were just so much for me that I was looking to reduce the maintenance fees. And so I took my daughter to Las Vegas in March for her birthday and on a marketing package, and we went to a meeting. And I kept saying that I was looking to reduce my maintenance fees. And unbeknownst to me, I ended up buying more points, a different package, and not even realizing what I had done, and ended up with maintenance fees that were over $4,000 a year. So that
a couple questions here. When you first bought in Hawaii, it should have been on your contract what the maintenance fees were. Were you aware?
Honestly, I did not understand the process. I think I was just looking at the fact that I had bought a timeshare and my daughter and I could travel. Yes, the maintenance fees were there. Honestly, I didn't even understand how the whole system works. And then I ended up with pretty big maintenance fees there.
And then,
just me not knowing.
And then, do you remember what the maintenance fees were in Hawaii? Because you said after the second purchase they were $4,000. I was wondering how much they were before.
I think it was like maybe $1,300. I'm not sure that that's exactly correct, but I think that was right.
Okay, so you went to a presentation to reduce your fees that were $1,200 or $1,300, and you walked out of there with maintenance fees that were $4,000.
Not knowing that I had upgraded from the Hawaii collection to the U.S. collection. I had no idea and my daughter was with me the entire time. And so I wanted her to be there with me because I didn't want to make a bad choice, and I did. I did make a bad choice because I was misled and misrepresented, and she was too.
Well, and one thing that really set me off was when you said you did see the numbers on the contract, and the agent said, don't look at these because you're doing a lateral move.
A lateral move is what I was told. And a picture was drawn like on a white sheet of paper, looking like 2 rooftops, like you were moving from one to the other. And I was told, don't look at the figures here. You're doing a lateral move. And my daughter and I both just felt like it was the right thing, not knowing.
And how did you find TARDA? Oh, and let me, Judy doesn't, Judy has no clue what TARDA is. So maybe a little explanation of how I got myself into this, Judy. I purchased from the same resort that Betty did, and we upgraded like Betty did, and they said, oh, we're adding New York properties. I said, well, that's wonderful because our daughter lives there. So I bought just for that reason. When I went to book, it would cost $10,000 using my points in equivalent maintenance fee dollars compared to 3,000 booked online. And I thought,
Wow.
I must be doing something wrong. So I called them and they said, oh no, that's for people that have so many points, they don't know what to do with them all. We've heard from 200 of the highest loyalty people that, like Betty, were said they were sold for reasons that don't exist. So I filed with the Arizona Attorney General, and the attorney for the resort denied my request to cancel, saying these are all the times she used her points in the past. I'm like, well, that has nothing to do with this recent purchase. So then I filed with the Florida Attorney General after hearing a disgusting presentation. And Tracy, I thought of you because she said, oh, well, when you get home, you refinance it. No one pays our high interest rate. And there's sins of misrepresentation and sins of omission. So they don't tell you that if you can get a home equity loan, maybe, but banks don't finance timeshares. So then I filed with the New York Attorney General, and the New York Attorney General was the charm. After I retired as a stockbroker in Hawaii with Edward Jones, I became first a CASA volunteer and then a CASA supervisor, court-appointed special advocate for children in Hawaii, children in foster care. In Hawaii, I've actually met with the Hawaii CASA when I was here a couple years ago, and I was trained to write court reports for family court judges. So both Tracy and Robin and Betty, just gathering your thoughts, right, Betty? We probably spent 1 or 2 hours just having you gather your thoughts. And when you reached out to the resort, what was the response the first time that you sent a written report to them?
They told me there was nothing that could be done, that I signed the contracts, and that they said I was not misled and I was not misrepresented, and they would not cancel it.
And then, so we then, eventually I provided the report of the 5 complaints against that, 4 or 5 complaints against that sales agent. Oh, here we have, Kimberly's here. I just can't wait till she's back with us on the show. But again, our prayers for her recovery. So anyway, that's a happy ending, and we're really fortunate. And you are going to remain a member of that resort.
Yes.
And there's some beautiful resorts here in Hawaii. So and also for being on the show, Kimberly let me name the show Timeshare Solution or Surrender. Surrender can mean surrendering it back to the resort, or like Robin and Tracy, it could be, that's it, I'm not paying you any more money, you lied to me. So Robin, I am very grateful to, because Robin is an Army veteran, and not only is she an Army veteran, and one of the reasons that I do this is in 2017, the refinance told you could refinance because you're military, and then went to Florida and got upgraded. Yeah, that's correct. You can refinance. And then both the husband and wife were active duty Navy and found their security clearances in jeopardy. So in addition to Robin being an Army veteran, she works for the military EAP, Employee Assistance Program. And I'm trying to find out if I can work my way to those financial counselors that can alert the active duty service members that you have to be really careful. Robin, do you have to still maintain your security clearance?
No, I didn't even ever have a security clearance. I didn't have one.
Okay, but a lot of veterans, when they separate from service, they keep their security clearances because they work in military-related careers, Department of Defense, defense contractors. So here's we have Kimberly adding her comments here. There should be a simple get out of the contract clause. This should not be till death do you part. We're going to be talking a little bit later about a 3-year program I signed up for that Jonathan is helping me, his services are helping me book. Robin, tell us a little bit first off what you do for the military, and then how your situation, what led you to default with Westgate.
Absolutely. I am I work with military spouses. I'm a career coach, so I help with any kind of workforce development, career readiness, employment. I assist them with their resumes. I'll do video mock interviews. I help them in anything as it relates to deciding on what their career path is, what their educational goals is, finding employment, working remotely opportunities for the military provide these services. I'm a career coach. I've been doing this for over 13 years, working with military spouses all over the world, helping them in that capacity. Now, when it comes to why I defaulted with Westgate is because I've always taken advantage of those offers, with the weekend. I never, ever intend to buy and purchase. But as I'm looking to build a portfolio and make passive income, when I went on that tour, which was, I think it was last May of 2024, around Memorial Day weekend, I went on a tour, accepted, of course, the nominal offer for like the 3-day trip. They sold it to me as if I could make money off of it, because I specifically kept saying that's what I wanted to do. And they gave me some options of, how you can advertise and make little money here and there. And that was just little, but I was looking for, because they sold it as unlimited getaways. And I never really felt comfortable about it. But Westgate gives you 10 days, which isn't even enough time to look at all the paperwork after the fact.
That's in Florida. If you bought from Westgate in Las Vegas, it would be 5 days. So the cancellation period varies by state. Did you buy in Florida?
I bought in Florida. I live in Florida. I bought in Florida, right? So, but after about 20 days, looking at all the information, getting some of the information in, looking at how to rent it, looking at the unlimited, it didn't match up what they said. All I paid was a down payment. After 20 days, I sent in a request to cancel. Well, of course, I'm after my 10 days. Of course, I called in the customer service. They wasn't very helpful. And I told them then, don't call me because I'm not going to pay. If you don't want to cancel this, I'm not going to pay. And I haven't paid since, other than the down payment. They keep asking for their money. They haven't been so aggressive. I've been sending in correspondence. I've sent all their stuff back. When I sent the request that I want to come out the contract, they had given me like a laptop and some things. Not a laptop, a little tablet. I sent all that stuff back initially. I've been in correspondence here and there. They're still refusing to let me out. It has definitely impacted my credit score. I was over 800. My credit score has dropped to like 610 as a result of this. For that one, because it's reporting as if it's property, like rental property, like my mortgage. It's not reporting as a credit card debt. And it's also reporting that I'm late consecutively. And because of that, my credit score has a hit. It's slowly rising, but it's been a year, and it's not, I think it's above 660 yet.
Okay, now, there was a lawsuit filed against Westgate and 4 other developers for violating the Military Lending Act. And the crux of the argument was whether a timeshare loan is a personal loan or a mortgage. And I was at the court in Florida when Judge Dalton ended the day by saying, when I check out of a timeshare, I can't leave my underwear and toothpaste. Mm-hmm. And so Westgate lost in the lower court, and then they appealed. I went to the appellate court with our very first timeshare guest, Taya, who's in the Army, and we went to the appellate court, and they lost at the appellate court. If you go to Fannie Mae's website, if you go to the NCUA, the National Credit Union Administration, they all say a timeshare loan is not a mortgage loan.
It's not.
So have you contacted the credit reporting agency to show that it's that information? Have you provided that to tell them it's inaccurate reporting?
Not on that. I reported it some other way, and then Westgate, of course, responded that I was late, and I was late because I refused to pay. But I have to go back and do it with what you're just mentioning now. I haven't gone and done that part yet with the
Yeah,
credit
let's
bureau.
do that because I'm really interested to see
have.
how they respond. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Was it reported, like, for instance, is the loan being reported through Westgate, or is the loan already been bundled up and sold to a third-party
It's
company?
Westgate. I've never heard from any third party anything. I've only dealt with Westgate, and on my credit
so-
report, it's still showing Westgate.
So you finance through Westgate.
Yes.
So
Yeah, but I haven't paid other than a down payment. I haven't paid anything. I haven't paid on anything after that down payment.
right.
I
Okay.
have the exact similar, almost the exact story as she does, and same exact thing. But I did report it to the credit bureau. I had to write letters. I emailed them. I sent the letter by mail to each of the credit bureaus stating that it was not supposed to be a mortgage, and they all three came back and said, sorry, per the contract that Westgate provided and the answer that Westgate provided, it is showing on their contract as a mortgage, so they would not change it. They wouldn't honor the change. So my credit is also affected, went from 815 to 610, and it reported as a late mortgage payment. It's
Because they are personal loans. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
go to a bank, and we deal with this all the time. You know, when I was sitting on tables all my life, and clients are like, so how am I going to pay for this? How would I want to pay off the balance? Well, you can either go to the bank, you can take a personal loan, you could take a home equity, from your home equity and take that. You could put it on a credit card, right? But no one's going to give you a valued loan valuation based on your timeshare. It just doesn't. There's
Correct.
companies out there that claim, right? They go out there and say, okay, what we will do is we will give you a loan to pay off the balance of your timeshare. And then they charge you 7% 6.9 because they're trying to compete against the 18.9 or 19.9 that is bundled up and sold to other companies, but they're still running your credit and you still have a personal loan with that company, right? You're better off putting it on a credit card and double dipping and getting the reward points. If you're going to pay off a timeshare balance, that's the best way to do it. As long as you can, go ahead.
And Jonathan, give us a little background about Vacation Ownership Advisor. And you're a former director of sales, and you worked for Marriott and Hilton in the past. And kind of explain what you're doing for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Irene, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. I love what you're doing. Transparency, it's so important in this industry. I've been blessed to be in the timeshare vacation ownership industry for well over 20 years. Worked with great companies, Marriott, Hilton. I do believe in ethics. I believe that things should be done right. I understand that there are things that have not been presented right, and those things go on. It's something that I would love to change, and I know that the people at the top who I deal with, certain conferences, the GNext conference as well. I speak to these leaders. I'll be with them in a month, and I can rest assured that it's not something that they endorse, that they want to happen. I know that leadership starts with the top, right? And it needs to work its way down, definitely. When I worked for Marriott during COVID, obviously the industry paused, and we were all sitting around at home figuring out what to do. And I looked at an opportunity which I felt was a void in the timeshare vacation ownership industry, and that was to create a company that would be able to solve the disconnect and void post-sale for a member when they purchase. There's a lot of information that comes to them. I mean, we're learning every day over 20 years. How do you expect an owner to understand what happens in 3 hours of how to use that product? So we partner with developers, travel clubs. You can Google our brand, Vacation Ownership Advisor. You'll see we have over 500 reviews, 4.9 stars, best consumer product of the year, last 2 years in a row. And we work with owners on an individual proactive basis to help them understand, know how to use and get the value of their product. We also manage their entire travel portfolio, from their credit card reward points, American Express, Hilton Honors, Marriott Bonvoy, because your timeshare, and I'll end it on this, I apologize to go off a little bit. Your timeshare, no matter what product you buy, and there's a lot of them out there that are fantastic, even if you spend $100,000, you buy this enormous membership, it is not going to cover 100% of your travel, right? You still might need to book a hotel somewhere, and converting your points to hotel rewards is not the best value to do, right? So we can help you take your Marriott Bonvoy. Maybe you want to flip them into airline miles at a 3-to-1 and do things. So we're here to help the consumer make sure they have a good experience post-sale and that they're using the product and feel good about the annual maintenance fee. Because we feel good. I have a member this morning that we work with, International, and they wanted to book something in Nuevo Vallarta in Mexico. We're unsure how to do it. And they said, yeah, but it's 48,000 points. We don't want to book this. And when we broke it down at a penny a point valuation, it's about $600 with your maintenance fee and exchange fee. If we go to Expedia right now and book that same 1 bedroom for 5 nights, it's just under $1,400. So it's a 2.2, 2.1 valuation, but the member's paying $600 and getting a valuation, getting ahead of the game. So that's in essence what we do. We can teach people and show you how to get 9x valuations by going into certain properties in Hawaii and Maui, just where you are right now, Irene. There's incredible opportunities there using points. Anything that we can do to help anyone that is, listening to this podcast or something, please, reach out to our team. We're here to assist you. With Irene, same thing. And we just want to help the timeshare consumer have a great experience with their ownership.
Well, and I signed up for my resort co-op. My husband and I are getting older, so we're not traveling as much. We very much are saying we're getting too old for this, flying from Florida to Hawaii. But I signed up for a 3-year program that's $1,300 something the first year, I think 9 something the third, 9 something the second and third, and then I'm done. And it's 48,000 RCI points a year. And, all these sales agents say, now you call me anytime. If you have any questions, I will be there for you. And they never return your phone calls. So I signed up for this program. And about 3 weeks later, I get a call from Jonathan. Hi, I'm your personal consigliere. And I'm like, really? So his team, I gave him some drive-to locations in Florida. And they got me a week at Cape Canaveral on the ocean. And it was about $900, and they gave me a list, but I have a RCI membership with it, and so I had to actually go into RCI and book it. But doing my timeshare math, I went to booking.com and it would have cost about $1,600. So if Jonathan's fee is $249 for the year, free the first year, I wouldn't hesitate to pay that the second and third year. Your goal is to save people money overall to justify the fee that you charge.
Absolutely, and it's to make it to where the consumer feels comfortable, right? It's where can you find a price point to where the consumer feels comfortable as a business you can operate, and the client gets value. The most important thing is the value. A lot of times people talk about when they present timeshare, they present it as, oh, you're going to save this amount of money. You're save this amount of money. It's not about that. You're not saving the money because you're not spending it. It's about how much money are you going to spend and what is the value for it, right? Like if you have 2 grocery stores and I can go into one and spend $100 and I get $100 worth of groceries, and the guy next door gives me $300 worth of groceries for $100, I'm going there because I'm getting more value for my money. And that is in essence what happens with vacation ownership when you use points or you purchase a membership. It's how much value are you going to get for that money going forward in the future.
Now, I only one time attempted to use my timeshare points to book an airline, and it was really poor value.
Yeah.
Is it possible to use timeshare points and get value booking airfare?
No.
We don't have points, do we?
No. I mean, it's very simple. It's a dry answer. The answer is no. If you're going to book airfare, if anybody promises you that they can give you discounts on airfare, they're lying. It's not true. There might be a couple percentage points that vary on business class, right? Here and there, there's a little more margin depending on where you might book. As for coach tickets, it is what it is. I mean, they're all based on classes, Y, Z, X, ST. You know, when you buy an airline ticket, I don't want to go into too much, but they advertise online. You may see $49 one way to Hawaii, and then you click on it and you get there and it's $250. And you're wondering why, right? All that happens. Well, they only give out a certain amount of seats at that specific number, and they're not telling you a specific date. They're telling you a price and a destination. So legally, you can say $199 in Hawaii because you haven't mentioned an actual date. Or you can say Hawaii $199, or however you want to box it. 2-bedroom units $199. You can't have all three together as one. But if you're going to use airfare, it is best to either book farther in advance or to use your points, and never use your points for economy tickets inside of the United States unless you're flying to Aspen or somewhere where it's very expensive, because the value is not there to use them.
And it was the same developer, and I called and I said, you know, this was like $2,000 for one-way ticket and maintenance fees. Oh, that's for convenience, not value.
It is, and that's true. Marriott had the best, and
Wow.
my heart is with Marriott. I love this company, you know, more than anything. I've spent many years with them, and they used to have these 5-night certificates and 7-night certificates, and you could spend $250,000, 500,000, 600,000 Marriott Bonvoy points, and you would get 100,000 airline miles plus like a 5-night stay in a Category 8 hotel, let's say. And if you knew how to use those the right way, the valuation was incredible. And it was one of the best things that you could do as a Marriott Bonvoy or a Marriott Vacation Club owner. Unfortunately, they've scaled that back over the past couple of years, but that was by far the best valuation if you were going to use points for Marriott at that specific time. Now there's other ways to do it.
Well, and
Kimberly.
yeah, Kimberly's got a question. Well, one thing, how do we, this question she had, how do we avoid misrepresentation and misleading agents?
You know,
I don't know if we can.
You know, it all starts at the top, right? It's accountability from the senior sales manager up to the project director to the regional VP. And, you know, we're talking about something right now that a lot of people don't like to address, right? These are things that happen, right? And the industry in the timeshare industry, vacation is a great industry, but there are people that have taken advantage of or walked a very gray line when presenting products to people, and they're not selling a pair of socks, right? You're selling a dream to someone that they are truly believing and trusting in you and investing a lot of money into that dream, right? To be able to have something. And it's very unfortunate and it's unfair, because when these issues happen, that immediately should be scaled up and there should be written warnings. And the person, I've always been a firm believer of it. I mean, if a person is a repeat offender, you might have someone that says the wrong thing because they were uneducated of it. I get it. But when it happens multiple times, the person needs to be terminated and the person should be banned from the industry. And all the resorts that are out there, Marriott, Hilton, all these ones that are a part of TARDA, which I have a lot of respect for. Jason Gamble's the president. He's a good friend of mine. I respect him. And I know he would never feel comfortable with any of this that's going on and would love to be able to fix it. These people should be banned from the industry. Boom, like that. You're not allowed to work. But unfortunately, what they do is they get fired from one resort and then they go down the street and all of a sudden they're working as a sales rep at another resort. But that doesn't solve the problem, right? The problem is weeding out these individuals and taking accountability for what's there, because the VLO knows, I would say sometimes, I can't say all the time, but
The VLO, meaning?
the VLO sometimes, meaning the verification legal officer. There's certain cases to where a sales rep might be together with a VLO, right? And they know that there's certain things that are said and they would say, hey, don't mention this. I mean, I'm sure we've all heard this. We've heard this on this presentation. As we've done this podcast before, we've heard members come up to us and say to us, Irene, that they were told specifically by the sales rep, when they're in contract and VLO, not to mention certain things because we can't talk about those things in contract or we want it to go quicker. We've had those conversations with clients. They've literally said that. And those type of things need to be nipped. And that's why there's a lot of companies now that record all of these VLOs, and which is smart because you need to have a record of everything that's being said.
Wait a minute. Let me back up on that one.
Yeah.
The reason that the closing is recorded is because over 1,000 Diamond members filed complaints with the Arizona Attorney General.
That's right.
And I got a call from their PR firm. Irene, we're going to go beyond the assurance of discontinuance. We're going to record the closing. And I said, what a perfect entrapment. So Robin and Betty can be Tracy had to go to a meeting. I knew she was going to leave early. Don't say anything about renting, because I will help you with that outside. Don't say anything about refinancing, because I used to work in the refinance industry. And so make a payment after the rescission period, and then, call me. And then you file the complaint, and the response is, if this was important to you, you should have brought it up on the recorded closing.
Yeah,
We need
it's
the
a shame.
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
the sales presentation to be recorded.
It is a shame. And
I'll just eat
in
it.
some sales galleries that I've had the pleasure of,
Maybe you
ones
need
that I've
knife.
worked in, literally, I can tell
Wow.
you at West 57th in New York City where I worked, there's cameras right there. Like they can see what you're writing. Again, I would point it out to the client. I'd be like, Big Brother is right there. Right. So everything is on the up and up. And it's one thing that I will say is, and this is not any way negative about anything else. There's certain brands out there that do things a certain way on a different level. And that is one thing that I respected about working there, was that transparency. Has it ever happened there? I don't know. But I can tell you that much more transparency in certain brands than other brands. I would say that.
Well, and I will say that we've had a lot of complaints from Elara in Las Vegas, but I don't think we've ever received a complaint about the New York property
It's
that
run
you
different.
worked at.
Yeah,
it's run different.
We even, I won't get into too much, but it's run very, very, very different.
Well, and we had a guest, and Judy, one of the reasons I'm glad you're on today is we had a guest that had to cancel. That was Candy in Michigan. And we've been talking about defaults, Robin, and we had someone contacted me early this year and said they had stopped Westgate payments. Same thing. They were told they could rent. And when that didn't work, they had no choice but to default. They stopped making payments in August of 2021. In November of 2024, Westgate charged it off. That doesn't mean they can't continue to pursue you. But I had her send to the lender when she wanted to buy a house the results from a public records request. There were 585 complaints filed with the Florida Attorney General in that year, in the last 3 years. And of those 585 complaints, nearly half, 251, were complaining about being told they could rent to offset costs. So again, it's the omission. But you mentioned ARDA, the American Resort Development Association.
Yeah.
I do have, if you could change this, I would be very appreciative of this. Candy, just since she's not here and she wanted to be here, she stayed in 2016 using her daughters, and they had a beautiful unit right by the water park with their grandbabies, and they thought this is great. So they bought, you can get this anytime. So then when they used their week the first time, they weren't even, not only were they not near the water park, they were outside of the whole complex. And then there was mold in the room. Their grandson's toy went under the sofa, and when they pulled the wall, it was all moldy. Her daughter was sick the whole week. And then when they called Westgate to go to another room, they would only change them for one night, saying mold is common in Florida. And then they said they were traveling with 6 people in a 2-bedroom, and they were only given 2 towels. And if you go to the Queen of Versailles trailer about the 90,000 square foot home that the owners of Westgate built, it's just ridiculous. Now, one thing she did is she paid $899 for a listing. You cannot sell a timeshare with a loan. It's impossible.
Right.
And so she lost that $899 in addition to defaulting. Club Exploria and Holiday Inn
Interesting stuff.
are
Wow.
referring to timeshares only, owned by Bert Blitzer, the former chairman of ARDA. Okay, so they have been known to, our board president was referred, Club Exploria referred her to timeshares only, that is supported by ARDA, and ARDA is referring people to timeshares only instead of Redweek or Tug or any of the 55 or more licensed brokers that if you want to sell your Grandview, they're going to tell you it's junk. But with Club Exploria, if you go to Redweek, there's listings for $1. But she called timeshares only. This is Sheila, who's been on our show several times, and they said, "Oh yes, for a fee of $800, we can list it for $8,000 to $11,000 would be a good starting." That's not right. Is there? Do you agree with that, Jonathan?
I do. I do agree that it's not right. And I say this. One of the things that I say that I would disagree with, that I don't feel comfortable with, and I think people in the industry know this. I'm just speaking on behalf of other people that don't really speak up. Paying a listing fee, basically you're paying someone $700 to post something online. There's nothing that's going to be done after that. It's very rare. You might have 1% of the companies that might do something in that aspect. There's some big name companies, that were not in the timeshare industry, but other big ones that were, doing stuff like that for many years. And they, this was something that, I'm sure a lot of people fell into this at the point of sale of even buying a timeshare. They would tell them that, we're going to get you set up with a broker. You'll pay $399, you'll pay $499, and then they're going to list it and make a commission. A lot of those companies have been, were out of Florida. A lot of them were taken down. There were arrests that happened from those companies too as well. And I think it's something that shouldn't happen. I mean, you should either work on a commission basis, right? I mean, like if I'm going to work on to sell something for you and I can do it, I should get paid a commission for it. If I'm charging you up front for something like that, it's too good to be true. Basically, it's creating a Craigslist and charging you to post it online. And then you never hear from the people again. And I've heard this story so many times, and I wish that they would put an end to it, to be honest with you, because it's not real, right? It's a fugazi, as they say, right?
Well, and one thing that's really great here is that, my universe are angry people, except Judy. She's happy with she's happy with Maui Hill. So I don't see the happy people. People don't call me to tell me they're happy. Jonathan's universe is happy people. And so I'm willing to acknowledge that there are many people that were blessed with an honest sales agent, but we want to and Jonathan is aware enough that he's aware, he admits that there are some bad apples out there. One of the goals of this program is to improve communication between owners and members and the developers. And so if I had one wish, it would be talk about a conflict of interest, referring people to list with someone that is the former chairman of ARDA is just wrong, and that should stop.
They should
Now,
donate it. Donate the timeshare. Like, when people would ask me different ways, I mean, there's organizations like Gift for Sight. Um, if it's paid off, obviously, and there's other ways to even donate the week, right? You can get a letter from the resort of what they call it, the FMV, the fair market value of it, and you can donate to a cancer society. You can do something like that, and get a tax write-off, right? Because that's legal, and you can do stuff like that if you're unable to sell it. If you have it and it's paid off, if you paid it 30,000 or 10,000, whatever the number is, and you're just upset about the maintenance fees or anything, you can look into tax write-off, different things, donation. The other one is understanding how to use the maintenance fee to get the value out of it, right? Because you're going to pay it anyway, right? If you're not, you're going to go into default and negative things happen. Or you just give it away, right? And you just walk away from it. But if you've spent so much into it, so much money, I mean, I really would, and our team would love the opportunity to at least take the opportunity to show you, hey, this is what you can do with it. If you choose that that's not for you, that's okay, right? There's different ways to get out of it, but don't expect someone to write you a check for, $25,000 and then pay a listing fee. And is it possible to sell a timeshare? Yes. Have people done it? Yes. But you have to be knowledgeable when you get into that, because if not, you fall into a consumer trap, because it's just not your expertise, where this is what we do every single day. So we can help people that like that.
well, I've not known of any charity that would want to accept a timeshare because you're accepting a liability.
There's a lot. You have organizations that, especially like one's Make-A-Wish Foundation, you can also work with them. You can give a week, for instance, if a child needed to have like a week somewhere or something, they do stuff where you can actually donate a week. There's a lot of organizations out there. We worked with one in Florida,
Interesting.
To where they would actually take it and they would bid on it, and they would use the proceeds of that. And someone in the organization there we were just there like a year ago in Orlando. We actually donated a cruise, and someone was able to bid on it, and the proceeds of that cruise, of the money that came in, went towards the foundation to help kids that were, dealing with terminal cancer. And it was just a wonderful thing to do. And it really felt good to give back and to help out.
There was an organization a few years back called Donate for a Cause, and they got in big trouble. They were sued for the donation and the tax write-off, and they were actually put out of business because of it.
They didn't do it the right way. Yeah. Probably didn't do it the right way. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that take advantage of, good situations that are out there. But, your best bet, I always say, your best bet is to, if you've paid it off, use it. Use it fine. And if you're not going to travel, I understand. Maybe you can give it away to someone, because there's value. I see people that pay $10,000 in maintenance fees with a Marriott or so, and a lot of people go like, "Oh my God, it's $10,000." It's all relevant, right? But if you were to be shown that you could get $25,000 worth of travel for it over a year, you might think to yourself, "That's not too bad," as long as you're traveling and spending that money, right? So it all becomes relevant, depending on how you want to travel and what you're doing.
The problem is probably 80% of the people that reach out to me have medical issues that prevent them from traveling.
So they need to get out. They need to be give it back. Like we've talked about this a lot, and this has came up at the conferences that I go to, is that they would, and this has been brought up multiple times, is that as easy as it is to buy a timeshare, right? You can walk in and buy it. It should be relatively that easy to unwind it and give it back to the developer. It shouldn't be like you bought this and, oh my God, now it's like a tattoo. You can't get it off for the rest of your life, right? There should be an unwinding process that is easy and painless for the member, because there's only a small percentage of people that really want to unwind. The majority of people that purchase this use it and they go out. But those people that don't use it they're making a lot of noise, because they're like, hey, listen, I can't travel. I have all these things going on. I'm elderly, whatever it might be. I'm sick. Can you help me? I've already paid the money. I'm just looking for an exit strategy. Right.
Yeah, and as Kimberly said, it's until death do you part. And one of the complaints we have is sales agents saying, "Oh, you have to give up that deed and convert to points, or your heirs will be liable." Well,
It's not
what they did was their heirs were not liable because they could disclaim it, or but what by putting them in a loan to convert to points, now they've created a liability if when you're settling the states. So
we're just trying to
that's
get upgrades.
another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't. And Judy, when you go to, what I'm going to do is when the show is over, Kimberly built me a timeshare showcase. And if you go to that showcase, it starts at, this will be episode 77, and you can go all the way from 77 to 1. We actually had one law firm that said they had one of their staff members watch all 77 episodes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's cruel and unusual employment. But I'll put you on that. Everybody can see everybody's email because everybody's in the same boat, and you can opt out and just send me an email. But so when you see that there's 25 or 95 views, those are only the people that I text. I have 10 groups of 50, and group 11 is up to 7 or 8 people. So over 500 people get this. And I'm thrilled. If 95 people, an hour is an eternity to be on a YouTube or a Zoom or StreamYard as we're on right now. But the show has the support we've received for this show, and when someone calls me and they're disputing Westgate and they maybe have no chance but to default, I'm like, watch episode 35 or watch episode 42. That's Robin and Tracy. They stopped making payments and here's where they're at. So Robin, we're down to our last 4 or 5 minutes. I think we need to go back and and Tracy, I want to go back when they're saying Westgate reported it as a mortgage. It's that may be a problem. I checked with an attorney. The other thing is when people say, should I stop making loan payments? I can't answer that, so I'm not an attorney. So I say watch episode 11 and episode 48 because those are attorneys talking about timeshare default. So Robin, do you want to say anything in closing comments? Do you know if you've been, we're going to follow up with we're telling the credit reporting agency that it's inaccurate reporting, that it should not be reported as a mortgage. But have you had any other comments that you'd like to add before we close today?
Um, not, really comments. I don't know. It's like I was saying during that. Know before you decide. You know what I'm saying? Make sure, you get an understanding. And just reach out and ask questions. And even if you decide, make sure you know when your rescission period is, because beyond that, you're stuck in that contract.
An adverse life event can happen to anybody. So if you're financing at 17% for 10 years and something happens, resorts say they have hardship provision, but it's not always that easy. And Betty, thank you for being with us today. You've gone from one club to another club, and I'm sure your heart goes out to Robin and Tracy.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And Jonathan, thank you for being helping me with the co-host today. We hope that Kimberly, I think she has another 5 weeks or so of recovery, and then she'll be back with us again. And I appreciate the other producers. There's 3 producers. Nick is an attorney, and here we have Mark. His family has a background in radio. One of the pioneers of the Black radio station in Raleigh, first in the country almost, wasn't it?
It was one of the ones that was not affiliated with a university. So one of the first like community radio stations in rural North Carolina. So not Raleigh, but rural North Carolina in Warrenton. But yeah, it was definitely a pioneer station, and it comes from a heritage of pioneer stations because my grandmother created the first African American library in Raleigh as well back in the 40s. So we definitely have a family of pioneers and all along those lines.
Thank you, and thanks for helping us out today. It's, I had a little trouble with Hawaii time this morning at 7 a.m., but it's like, wow, it's kind of nice to have the rest of the day.
Right, the whole day ahead of you. I know that we've actually had another show that the young lady was coming from Hawaii. That's K Pasa Mohair that airs on the network that talks about Latin American culture and Latin American economic power. And it's done out of Virginia, the two primary hosts, but one of the hosts was a military wife, and she was doing a lot of the marketing and a lot of the other stuff from Hawaii. So she would sometimes do it from Arizona and sometimes from Hawaii and all along those lines. So I know about that Hawaii time from her show and everything like that, because their show is in the afternoon. It was like 4 o'clock. So she'd be like at around 11 o'clock, and then she'd have all of the mid-afternoon to get her stuff done. So it's definitely a different time zone.
Okay, well, listen, thanks to everybody. I see Judy came and left. We can talk a little bit after the show if you'd like to stay, and Mark's going to probably close us out here pretty soon. I see we're beyond our hour.
Thank you. I'm going to close you out right now. This was another great episode of Timeshare Solution or Surrender, and we're going to get on out of here. And Irene and her folks will be back doing some more of this wonderful advocacy work on next week, which will be the 25th. So we look forward to seeing them and the conversation at that particular time. But right now, let's get on out of here, and we'll catch y'all on the next episode of Timeshare Solutions or Surrender. So definitely Irene and her crew doing another amazing job.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.